I'm going to read a few pages from The Secret Destiny of America by Manly P. Hall. Chapter 18, The Symbols of the Great Seal of the U.S. Is the American eagle actually a phoenix? Selection of the fabulous bird of the ancients seems to have been the intention of the designer of our nation's Great Seal. The phoenix is the symbol of the reborn in wisdom. The design on the reverse of the Great Seal is even more definitely related to the Order of the Quest. The pyramid and the all-seeing eye represent the universal house surmounted by the radiant emblem of the great architect of the universe. These three symbols in combination is more than chance or coincidence. When the time came to select an appropriate emblem for the Great Seal of the United States of America, several designs were submitted. These are described by Gaillard Hunt in The History of the Seal of the United States, published in Washington, D.C. in 1909. Most of the designs originally submitted had the phoenix bird on its nest of flames as the central motif. One of the designs now familiar to us was finally selected, and Benjamin Franklin was asked for his opinion of the choice. Franklin gave his immediate approval, observing naively that it was very appropriate to select the wild turkey as the symbol of the new country. The turkey was a bird of admirable quality, hard-working and industrious, and of good moral character, and a fowl also with a marked aversion for the color red, at the time unpopular among the colonists. When it was explained to Franklin that the bird on the seal was intended to represent an eagle, he was bitterly disappointed, and he insisted that the drawing did not look like an eagle to him, and furthermore, an eagle was a bird of prey, with few of the respectable qualities of the wild turkey. It has been said that the designer had drawn a phoenix. Its selection would of course have been appropriate. Among the ancients, a fabulous bird called the phoenix is described by early writers such as Clement, Herodotus, and Pliny. In size and shape it resembles the eagle, but with certain differences. The body of the phoenix is covered with glossy purple feathers, and the plumes in its tail are alternately blue and red. The head of the bird is light in color, and about its neck is a circlet of gold plumage. At the back of its head, the phoenix has a crest of feathers of brilliant color. Only one of these birds was supposed to live at one time, with its home in distant parts of Arabia, in a nest of frankincense and myrrh. The phoenix, it was said, lives for 500 years, and at its death, its body opens and the newborn phoenix emerges. Because of this symbolism, the phoenix is generally regarded as representing immortality and resurrection. All symbols have their origin in something tangible, and the phoenix is one sign of the secret orders of the ancient world and of the initiate of those orders, for it was common to refer to one who had been accepted into the temples as a man twice born or reborn. Wisdom confers new life, and those who become wise are born again. The phoenix symbol is important in another way, as an emblem among nearly all civilized nations of royalty, power, superiority, and immortality. The phoenix of China is identical in meaning with the phoenix of Egypt, and the phoenix of the Greeks is the same as the thunderbird of the American Indians. In the accompanying drawing, the head of the bird as it appeared on the Great Seal of 1782 is compared with the present form. It is immediately evident that the bird on the original seal is not an eagle, nor even a wild turkey as Franklin had hoped, but the phoenix, the ancient symbol of human aspiration toward universal good. The beak is of a different shape, the neck is much longer, and the small tuft of hair at the back of the head leaves no doubt as to the artist's intention. But if this design on the obverse side of the seal is stamped with the signature of the Order of the Quest, the design on the reverse is even more definitely related to the old mysteries. Here is represented the Great Pyramid of Giza, composed of 13 rows of masonry, showing 72 stones. The pyramid is without a capstone, and above its proper platform floats a triangle containing the all-seeing eye surrounded by rays of light. The design was not pleasing to Professor Charles Eliot Norton of Harvard. He summed up his displeasure in the following words: "The device adopted by Congress is practically incapable of effective treatment. It can hardly, however artistically treated by the designer, look otherwise than a dull emblem of a Masonic fraternity." The quotation is from The History of the Seal of the United States. If incapable of artistic treatment, the Great Seal is susceptible of profound interpretation. The Pyramid of Giza was believed by the ancient Egyptians to be the shrine tomb of the god Hermes, or Tot, the personification of universal wisdom. No trace has ever been found of the cap of the Great Pyramid. A flat platform about 30 feet square gives no indication that this part of the structure was ever otherwise finished. And this is appropriate, as the pyramid represents human society itself, imperfect and incomplete. The structure's ascending converging angles and faces represent the common aspiration of humankind. Above floats the symbol of the esoteric order, the radiant triangle with its all-seeing eye. The triangle itself is in the shape of the Greek letter D, the delta, the first letter of the name of God, the divine part of nature completing the works of men. 72 stones are the 72 arrangements of the Tetragrammaton, or the four-letter name of God in Hebrew. These four letters can be combined in 72 combinations, resulting in what is called the Shemhamphorash, which represents, in turn, the laws, powers, and energies of nature by which the perfection of man is achieved. The pyramid, then, is the universal house, and above its unfinished apex is the radiant emblem of the great architect of the universe. There is a legend that in lost Atlantis stood a great university in which originated most of the arts and scientists of the present race. The university was in the form of an immense pyramid with many galleries and corridors, and on top was an observatory for the study of the stars. This temple to the sciences in the old Atlantis is shadowed forth in the seal of the new Atlantis. Was it the society of the unknown philosophers who sealed the new nation with the eternal emblems, that all the nations might know the purpose for which the new country had been founded? The obverse of the Great Seal has been used by the Department of State since 1782, but the reverse was not cut at that time because it was regarded as a symbol of a secret society and not the proper device for a sovereign state. Quite rare are discoveries of the use of this symbol in any important form until recent years. Most Americans learned for the first time what was the design on the reverse of their seal when it appeared on the dollar bill, Series 1935A. So far as anyone may know, the use of the seal in 1935 was probably without premeditation or special implication. But it is interesting that its appearance should coincide with great changes affecting democracy in all parts of the world. As early as 1935, the long shadows of a world tyranny had extended themselves across the surface of the globe. Democracy was on the threshold of its most severe testing. The rights of man, which Thomas Paine defended, were being assailed on every hand by selfishness, ambition, and tyranny. Then on the common medium of our currency appeared the eternal emblem of our purpose. The combination of the phoenix, the pyramid, and the all-seeing eye is more than chance or coincidence. There is nothing about the early struggles of the colonists to suggest such a selection to farmers, shoppers, and country gentlemen. There is only one possible origin for these symbols, and that is the secret societies which came to this country 150 years before the Revolutionary War. Most of the patriots who achieved American independence belonged to these societies and derived their inspiration, courage, and high purpose from the ancient teaching. There can be no question that the Great Seal was directly inspired by these orders of the human quest, and that it set forth the purpose for this nation. The monogram of the New Atlantis reveals this continent as set apart for the accomplishment of the great work. Here is to arise the pyramid of human aspiration, the school of the secret sciences. Over this nation rules the Supreme King, the ever-living God. This nation is dedicated to the fulfillment of the divine will. To the degree that men realize this and dedicate themselves and their works to this purpose, their land will flourish. To depart from the symbol of this high destiny is to be false to the great trust given as a priceless inheritance. Now, if you were listening closely to what I just read to you, it sounds an awful lot like Manly P. Hall is saying that the symbols on the $1 bill are free Masonic. So the question is, where does he get the authority to know this? Because, you read Wikipedia entries and they sort of say, well, they flat out say that this is conspiracy theory. Well, Manly P. Hall was a Freemason. In fact, the excerpt I just read to you was from The Secret Destiny of America, which was originally published in 1944. According to Wikipedia, Manly P. Hall was given the second highest honor conferred by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite that's 33 degree Mason, in 1973. So that was well after he published The Secret Destiny of America. Now, do you think if he was full of shit and he was misrepresenting Freemasonry and he was an anti-Mason, do you think they would confer the second highest honor upon him as a 33 degree Mason? Clearly, Freemasonry tends to have a face that the public sees or that they project to the public, and a different face that is sort of known inside when you're an insider. Now, we don't want to get carried away and just assume everything we read and hear that sounds cool is true, but if we're going to sit here and be discerning, there are contradictions in what the Freemasons say to the public, and then what they actually do, and what we can glean from just looking at their history and reading their writings, and what their members have said in the past and done. Now, this number 33, I want you to remember that, because we're going to be talking about that number in a future blog that's going to be somewhat related to this. So now that we know that Manly P. Hall was initiated as a Freemason 10 years after he published works and probably gave tons of lectures stating that the symbolism on the $1 bill is Freemasonic, now that we know he was initiated as a Freemason after saying that, and then also, additionally, honored by the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite with the 33rd degree, now that we know that he was given these titles by the Scottish Rite after saying that Freemasonic symbolism is on the $1 bill, let's see what Wikipedia says about Freemasonic symbolism being on the $1 bill. Some conspiracy theories state that the Great Seal shows a sinister influence by Freemasonry in the founding of the United States. Well, notice that they're not saying there, notice what they're not saying there, okay? They're not saying there's no Freemasonic influence on the $1 bill. They're saying that some conspiracy theories state that the Great Seal shows sinister influence by Freemasonry. Okay, but what about those conspiracy theories that state that there is an influence by Freemasonry and they don't characterize it as sinister? What about those? Oh, I guess we're not talking about those, are we, Mr. Wikipedia? And if we look at what Manly P. Hall said, and I don't think that he was insinuating anything sinister at all. He calls it the Order of the Quest, I think is the phrase he likes to use. That doesn't sound very sinister to me. That sounds kind of altruistic and exciting, and we're going to save the world with this by way of the Order of the Quest, like the Knights of the Round Table or something. Such theories usually claim that the Eye of Providence found in the seal above the pyramid is a common Masonic emblem, and that the Great Seal was created by Freemasons. These claims, however, misstate the facts. Okay, so are they saying that it wasn't a common Masonic emblem, but that it was a Masonic emblem? That's kind of seems like what they're saying. They're not saying it wasn't a Masonic emblem. They're saying it wasn't common. Now, I did a little search on Google, and on the first page I found this book, Freemasonry in Pennsylvania, Chapter 1. Look at what's that right there. Now, this book, I believe, was published in about 1905, and it covers the years 1930 through 1909. Okay, so maybe the eye was adapted, I don't know, a year after the symbol was put on the $1 bill. Okay, fair enough. But I also found this image in that book, and I had to piece it together as two pieces. And what do we have here? The Eye of Providence right there. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen pictures that look kind of like this. They're all over the place when you look up old Freemasonic pictures. The chessboard and the square and compass. Funny enough, looks kind of like a triangle with a sun in the middle. And then with an upside-down triangle, which looks like it might have the Tetragrammaton right there on top of it. The four-letter name of God, which Manly P. Hall mentioned. Now, the question is, what year was this drawn? Engraved by Brother Henry Dawkins, September 1759. That's funny. That's right in that window that they said it wasn't very common to have this eye. Now, maybe it wasn't on every single drawing like that, but that's the first one I randomly pulled up, and it just happened to have everything that Manly P. Hall was talking about and associating with the $1 bill. So you ever get the feeling that someone's pissing on your leg and telling you it's raining? And I don't know, does it sound like they're saying that the Great Seal wasn't created by Freemasons? They're saying these claims misstate the facts. Furthermore, contrary to the claims of these conspiracy theories, the Great Seal was not created by Freemasons. Okay, well, they flat out said it finally. It was not created by Freemasons. While Benjamin Franklin was a Mason, he was the only member of any of the various Great Seal communities definitively known to be so. Okay, so maybe the other people were Masons, but we didn't definitively know. So you see how they're leaving it open? They're kind of making it sound like Benjamin Franklin was the only Mason, nobody else was. So just shut up, man. But then they're leaving it open by saying that he was the only one definitively known to be so. And on top of that, his ideas were not adopted. Of the four men whose ideas were adopted, neither Charles Thompson, Pierre du Cimetière, nor William Barton was a Mason, and while Francis Hopkinson has been alleged to have had Masonic connections, there is no firm evidence to support this claim. So wait a minute. So they're saying Benjamin Franklin was a Mason, we know that. The other people could have been Masons, but we don't know that definitively. And of the four men whose ideas were adopted, one of them has been alleged to have had Masonic connections. So you see what they're doing here? I mean, they're like, yeah, Freemasonics weren't involved, but they were involved, and they might have been involved more than we think, but we're not going to assume that because only crazy people would assume that, right? So let's look into this Francis Hopkinson guy. Now, the Wikipedia entry doesn't say anything about him being a Mason, but look at who his father was. Thomas Hopkinson. This guy looks pretty important. Look at the way he's standing there. Hopkinson was a Freemason. He was a member of St. John's Lodge and served as Grand Master of Pennsylvania in 1736. Not only was he a Freemason, he was a Grand Master. And it sounds like he was pretty involved. He was involved in the American Philosophical Society, which Benjamin Franklin was involved with. He was friends with Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin was a Mason. You're telling me his son didn't know anything about Masonry. His son, who in fact put this on the $50 bill before the Great Seal of the United States was made. So we don't want to go assuming that Francis Hopkinson was a Freemason or anything, even though his dad was a Grand Master. And even though he himself put this symbol on the $50 bill, which was then used for the Great Seal of the United States, which of course has no Freemasonic connection at all, right? And incidentally, in this book, Freemason in Pennsylvania, there's various logs. And there's a log from the Christ Church where Freemasonic meetings occurred a lot. And the Hopkinson family had their own pew there. Francis Hopkinson used to bring his son there. So, more evidence that he could very well have been attending Masonic meetings there. Annuit coeptis. Our enterprise is a success. Novus Ordo Seclorum. New World Order. Our New World Order enterprise is a success. How interesting. Probably means nothing important.